Football is often predictable. When a team enters a rebuilding phase, expectations are low. Fans are told to be patient. Titles are put aside for tomorrow. But sometimes, a plan arrives that refuses to wait. That was Barcelona under Hansi Flick. When Flick took over, Barcelona was not expected to dominate. The club had been through turbulence, financial problems, managerial changes, young players still learning. It looked like another cycle of development. Rebuilding usually means sacrifice. You accept mistakes, you lose matches, you learn. But Flick had no interest in waiting, and the result was terrifying. In the 2024-25 season, Barcelona hacked Spanish football. They didn't just win, they conquered. La Liga, champions. Copa del Rey, champions. Supercopa, champions. Every domestic trophy was theirs. The numbers were absurd. 174 goals across 60 games, more than anyone in Europe's top 5 leagues. The most points away from home. 9 comebacks from losing positions. This wasn't the story of a rebuild. This was an explosion. And the man behind it was Hansi Flick, the German coach who had once turned Bayern Munich into a machine. Now, he had rebuilt Barcelona, not by erasing its DNA, but by modifying it. Barcelona has always been about possession, control, patience. But Flick injected something darker, sharper, more aggressive. He didn't destroy the essence of Barca. He weaponized it. High pressing, high intensity, high line. The new Barcelona did not wait for opportunities. They hunted them. As soon as the ball was lost, the team swarmed. Midfielders pressed centre-backs. Full-backs inverted into midfield. The forwards stayed high and wide, ready to kill in transition. It was not the tiki-taka of old. It was structured chaos, and it terrified opponents. The young players were no longer just prospects. They became soldiers in Flick's army. Lamine Yamal, just 17, was unleashed as a winger who hugged the line before slicing inside. Alejandro Balde inverted from left-back, joining attacks like a midfielder. Rafinha transformed into a second striker, exploding into central positions. Even veterans like Lewandowski adapted, thriving as the finisher of a relentless front three. Everyone had a role. Everyone understood the system. Everyone contributed to the monster. The beauty of Flick's Barcelona was not only in tactics, it was in psychology. Opponents stepped onto the pitch already unsettled. They knew what was coming. They knew they would be pressed, suffocated, and forced into mistakes. And yet, they couldn't stop it. Barcelona's system was high risk, high reward. Analysts called the high line crazy, a gamble waiting to collapse. But instead of breaking, it crushed teams. Because the press didn't start at the back, it started in midfield. Pedri, Frenkie de Jong, and Fermin Lopez triggered the wave, pressing high and forcing turnovers. Once the ball was won, the team attacked like a pack of wolves. 10 seconds. That was all it took. From winning the ball in their half to scoring at the other end. Structured chaos. That was Flick's gift. The results were historic. Barcelona outscored Paris Saint-Germain by 27 goals. They scored 23 from outside the box, a sign of their confidence. They dominated pressing sequences, leading Europe in ball recoveries in the opposition half. And they did it with the youngest squad in the league. An average age of just 24. This wasn't supposed to happen yet. This team wasn't supposed to peak. But under Flick, they refused to wait. Fans around Europe asked the same question. How do you stop them? Do you sit back? They suffocate you. Do you press them? They cut through you. Do you go wide? Their fullbacks invert and shut you down. Every option felt like a trap. That is why the word terrifying became part of Barcelona's identity. And yet, this was just the beginning. Flick described the first season as an integration phase. The players were still learning. If this was integration, what would evolution look like? Block 1 ends with a warning. The rebuild was supposed to take years. Instead, Barcelona exploded instantly into dominance. And now, with the system perfected, the players matured, and the hunger growing, the football world faces a monster. Because Hansi Flick's Barcelona is no longer rebuilding. They are evolving. And the scariest part? They're only just getting started. Tactics can be explained with diagrams, arrows, lines, and numbers. But Hansi Flick's Barcelona is not just about tactics. It is about pressure. It is about fear. It is about making opponents feel like the walls are closing in. At the heart of this identity lies 3 principles. 1. Press immediately. 2. Keep the line high. 3. Attack with numbers. This was not possession for possession's sake. This was aggression disguised as structure. As soon as the ball was lost, the team triggered a chain reaction. Midfielders jumped on the opposition centre-backs. Wingers stayed wide, stretching the field like traps waiting to close. Full-backs stepped into midfield. Centre-backs pushed onto the halfway line. It looked reckless, but it was rehearsed. The chaos was calculated. Take Lamine Yamal. At just 17, he was instructed to hug the touchline, forcing defenders into impossible choices. If the fullback closed him down, space opened for Pedri or Frenkie de Jong in the half space. If the defender stayed inside, Yamal was left alone in one-on-ones. A nightmare for any opponent. The same system applied to Rafinha, but inverted. He drifted inside, operating closer to Lewandowski, almost as a second striker. It gave Barcelona 2 goal threats in the box and freed the opposite wing for overloads. It was not just positioning, it was manipulation. Opponents were forced to play Flick's game, whether they wanted to or not. The midfield was the engine. Pedri orchestrated tempo, dictating every press and pass. Frenkie de Jong became the roaming playmaker, linking defense and attack with precision. Fermin Lopez provided vertical runs, stretching defenses and arriving late in the box. This was not midfield for ball retention. It was midfield for suffocation. Every press began there. Every attack launched from there. Every opponent cracked under there. And then came the high line. To traditional analysts, it was madness. Centre-backs standing almost on the halfway line. Space behind them like an open wound. But Flick's team trusted the system. Koundé and Cubarsí perfected the timing of the offside trap. Balde inverted as an extra midfielder, covering space before it appeared. Even goalkeeper Garcia was part of the system, sweeping high, turning danger into control. What looked like risk was actually certainty. The players trusted each other, and that trust became their weapon. Numbers prove it. Barcelona topped La Liga in pressing sequences, recovering the ball within seconds of losing it. They scored 23 goals from outside the box, proof of confidence and freedom. They produced 414 shots across competitions, a relentless wave of attempts. But numbers alone don't explain it. The true terror came from psychology. Opponents stepped onto the field knowing that every mistake would be punished. Every misplaced pass would become a Barcelona chance. Every hesitation would be swallowed alive. It was not just about tactics, it was about fear. Consider the Champions League group stage against Bayern Munich. Barcelona won the ball deep in their own half. Within 10 seconds, Yamal was racing forward. Within 11, Rafinha had scored. That was not football, that was ambush. And once you've experienced it, it stays with you. Defenders stopped playing with confidence. Midfielders rushed their passes. Goalkeepers panicked. The system didn't just take goals, it took courage. This is why Barcelona under Flick feels terrifying. It is not just that they score, it is how they score. With suffocating intensity, with inevitability, with a sense that resistance is pointless. Even the stars were transformed. Lewandowski, once criticized for slowing down, became lethal again. 42 goals in the system. Rafinha, dismissed as inconsistent, erupted into the Champions League's top scorer with 13 goals. Yamal, just a teenager, redefined what was possible, leading Europe in dribbles with 145. Every player became more, not by accident, but by design. Flick had taken Barcelona's DNA and rewritten it. Possession became pressure, patience became predation, and young players became executioners. This was structured chaos, a machine with a human face. A system designed not only to win, but to terrify. For opponents, every game felt like drowning. No air, no time, no space. That is why they call it terrifying. Not because it is violent, but because it is inevitable.
Every great system needs soldiers. Every machine requires parts that function perfectly together. But Barcelona under Hansi Flick is different. This team is not just a system. It is a collection of players who each became terrifying in their own right. The first name is Lamine Yamal, 17 years old, and already redefining what it means to be a winger. He doesn't just stay wide, he stretches defenses to their breaking point. He doesn't just dribble, he humiliates, he destabilizes, he creates chaos. 145 successful dribbles last season, more than anyone in Europe's top 5 leagues. 55 more than the player in second place. These are not just numbers, they are warning signs. For defenders twice his age, Yamal is the nightmare. He doesn't respect hierarchy, reputation, or fear. He is the embodiment of youthful arrogance and unstoppable ability. On the opposite wing, the story is different. Rafinha, once inconsistent, often criticized, even substituted early under previous managers. Under Flick, he exploded. 34 goals, 25 assists, more goal contributions than games played. He became the Champions League's top scorer with 13 goals. He provided the most assists in the tournament, 9, and he scored big goals in big matches. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was how he played. Explosive, relentless, unpredictable. Hansi Flick himself admitted, "I've never coached a player like him." That is not a compliment given lightly. Between them stood the veteran, Robert Lewandowski. Some said he was finished, too old, too slow. But in Flick's machine, he became the perfect weapon. 42 goals, a predator reborn. No longer the player who had to create for himself. Now, he thrived on service from both wings, timing his runs to perfection. Every cross, every cutback, every through ball, he was there. In many ways, Lewandowski was the proof of Flick's genius. If a player once seen as declining could thrive again, then the system itself was undeniable. Behind them, the midfield generals, Pedri and Frenkie de Jong. Pedri was the magician. He ranked first among La Liga midfielders in touches, key passes, expected assists, progressive passes, and successful dribbles. Every statistic screamed dominance. But numbers alone don't capture him. He was the conductor, the brain, the calm in chaos. When Barcelona pressed, it was Pedri who decided when to jump. When they attacked, it was Pedri who chose the rhythm. When they needed inspiration, it was Pedri who provided it. Frenkie de Jong was the connector, a roaming playmaker who carried the ball with elegance and passed with surgical precision. He averaged over 86 passes per game with a completion rate of 94%. In Flick's system, he was not just safe, he was essential. By gliding between lines, he turned defense into attack in seconds. And by anchoring the midfield, he gave freedom to others. Together, Pedri and de Jong created midfield superiority. Not just with possession, but with dominance. They didn't just control games, they suffocated them. Then came the fullbacks, Alejandro Balde and Jules Koundé. Balde, lightning quick, inverted into midfield, adding an extra layer to every attack. He was not just defending, he was creating. Goals came because of his movement into central areas. Koundé, strong and intelligent, balanced the line, stepping inside when needed, covering the risk of the high press. Together, they gave Barcelona something unique, width and depth at the same time. Fullbacks are often overlooked, but in Flick's Barcelona, they were the hidden weapons. And at the back, the fearless pairing, Pau Cubarsí and Íñigo Martínez. Cubarsí, young but composed, ranked first among La Liga centre-backs in touches, passes, and completion rate. He was a defender who built attacks, a passer disguised as a stopper. Martínez, experienced and disciplined, gave balance. Together, they played the most dangerous game in football, the high line. It looked like a weakness, but it was a trap.
Even the goalkeeper, Iñaki Peña Garcia, became part of the evolution. The keeper with the most saves in the 2024/25 season was not just a shot stopper. He was an outlet, a sweeper, a player who started attacks with his feet. For opponents, there was no escape. Even when they bypassed the press, Garcia stood waiting, ready to turn defense into offense again. In Flick's Barcelona, every role was weaponized. Every position was designed to hurt. Every player became terrifying.
The statistics prove the dominance. 174 goals in 60 games. The youngest squad in La Liga. Average age 24. The most pressing sequences in Europe. Historic records in dribbles, key passes, and recoveries. But the true fear was not in the numbers. It was in the feeling. Opponents felt trapped. Fans felt unstoppable momentum. And players felt empowered like never before. This was not just a team. This was evolution. And evolution does not stop. Every rise in football comes with a warning. Dominance is never permanent. Great teams are eventually undone by time, by complacency, by decline. But sometimes there is a moment when you can feel it. A moment when a team does not just win, it evolves. And that is Barcelona under Hansi Flick. The 2024/25 season was supposed to be the integration phase, a season of learning, of mistakes, of patience. Instead, it became an explosion. Every trophy in Spain, every opponent suffocated, every number rewritten. If that was the starting point, what happens when the system matures? The answer is terrifying. Because Flick's Barcelona is not built for a single season. It is built for an era. The average age of the squad is only 24. Players like Yamal, Cubarsí, and Balde are still teenagers or barely older. Pedri and De Jong are entering their primes. Rafinha is at his peak. Even Lewandowski, though aging, is shielded by the system's design. This is not the end. This is the beginning. When opponents look at Barcelona now, they don't just see results. They see inevitability. They see a future they cannot escape. How do you stop a team that thrives on mistakes when every team makes them? How do you resist a press that starts before you can even lift your head? How do you breathe when the pitch itself feels like it's shrinking? That is why they call it terrifying. Think about the evolution. In year one, the players were still adapting. Pressing triggers were still being learned. Timing of the high line still fragile. Movements in transition still being coordinated. And yet, they destroyed Spain. Now imagine year two. Muscle memory kicking in. Chemistry fully built. Younger players maturing with every game. The terrifying part is not what they have done. It is what they are about to do. Barcelona's rivals already know this. They feel the pressure before kickoff. They feel the inevitability after 10 minutes. And by the final whistle, they feel helpless. Real Madrid watched their eternal rival rise faster than expected. Bayern Munich felt the press collapse them in the Champions League group stage. Even PSG, with all their stars, looked vulnerable against this relentless machine. Every giant in Europe has now been warned. This is not rebuilding. This is revolution. And yet, the system is not just about winning. It is about fear. Barcelona has become football's psychological weapon. Teams no longer believe they can dominate them. They enter games already braced for suffering. When a system not only beats you, but breaks your confidence, that is when it becomes terrifying. And that is where Barcelona now lives, in the minds of their opponents. But let's not forget the bigger picture. This team is not only rewriting tactics, it is rewriting identity. For decades, Barcelona stood for possession, for tiki-taka, for patience. Flick has not destroyed that. He has evolved it. Possession became pressure. Patience became predation. Barcelona became something greater, a hybrid of artistry and brutality. The terrifying evolution is complete.
Yamal is no longer a prospect, he is a phenomenon. Rafinha is no longer inconsistent, he is inevitable. Pedri is no longer a promise, he is a general. The defense is no longer fragile, it is a trap. This is Barcelona 25/26, a monster rebuilt, but no longer waiting. The question is no longer, can they succeed? The question is, who can stop them? Now hear this. You are not just watching football, you are witnessing history evolve in real time. Every press, every goal, every suffocating sequence is part of a story of fear, of dominance, of inevitability. And the story is not finished.
Listen carefully. You've just witnessed the terrifying rise of Flick's Barcelona. But this story is not over, because the story continues with you. Every debate, every memory, every opinion keeps football alive. So tell us now, which part of Barcelona's terrifying evolution shocked you the most? And which team should we dissect next? Write your answer below. Argue, debate, prove your point, like the legends on the pitch. And if you want to be part of the next great story, subscribe to KICKSPLOSION_TV, because the next unforgettable battle is coming sooner than you think. Football is not just a game. It is power, it is identity, it is history. And here, we make sure you never forget it.